Welcome to The Debate. Today we're deep diving into, well, a really complex reality facing what's pretty much the undisputed king of the skies, the Airbus A320 family. Recent industry reports offer this really compelling duality, almost a split personality. A story of, market dominance, faster production, huge new orders, running right alongside specific, emerging operational alerts and technical bulletins.
And that duality isn't just academically interesting, it represents a real challenge in assessing the platform's actual health. I mean, we're looking at an aircraft family that just hit, 16,000 aircraft produced globally, which is staggering, absolutely unprecedented. But at the same time, it's grappling with mandatory inspections, unexpected in-flight incidents.
Exactly. So the central tension, the real question we're exploring is this. Do the huge commercial successes, the sheer scale of market dominance, do they fundamentally outweigh the simultaneous, specific maintenance and operational alerts? Or do these issues actually signal a critical increase in platform complexity that demands, immediate prioritized operational vigilance? My position is pretty clear. The platform's robust commercial health, its strategic modernization, the planned evolution, it all overwhelmingly confirms its continuing dominance and, frankly, its long-term viability in the single-aisle market.
And I'm coming at it from a very different angle. While, the commercial numbers are undeniably powerful, these recent technical alerts and incidents, they're not just minor glitches in my view. They underscore a growing operational stress, maybe even a complexity inherent in managing a global fleet of this size. And this reality, I think, necessitates immediate, rigorous oversight. It's a priority that has to transcend just being optimistic about future sales figures.
I see why you'd frame it that way, but let me offer a different perspective. One grounded in, the objective signals of long-term capital commitment. The overwhelming evidence, I think, of continuous investment and strategic platform evolution really secures the A320 family's role. It's the dominant single-aisle aircraft for the foreseeable future. Just look at the data that truly moves the needle. Wizz Air, right? They've recently placed a massive order for the A320neo family.
Huge order.
Yeah, and for an ultra-low-cost carrier like Wizz Air, this is more than just buying planes. It's signaling profound confidence in the proven economics of the neo variant. They're betting on the long-term feasibility of low-cost, high-utilization operations. This commitment, we're talking hundreds of airframes, billions of dollars, it translates directly into an accelerated production path at Airbus SE. Deliveries stretching out well into 2027 and beyond. When major operators make that kind of investment, they are factoring in risk. They're placing a definitive bet on platform longevity, on predictability. They're basically saying any minor technical bulletins are, manageable within their operational tolerance.
Okay, but
And hitting the 16,000 aircraft production milestone is also critical here. It isn't just some arbitrary number. It validates the global reliability, the robustness, the sheer ubiquity of the design, which in turn creates an economy of scale in training and spare parts that no rival can really match. And furthermore, the airframe is proving it can evolve. Look at the successful cargo conversion of an A320neo variant. It flew its first freighter mission recently, Europe to Southeast Asia. This shows the basic airframe can successfully serve entirely new mission sets. That extends its economic lifespan, helps with sustainability goals, and protects the investments of operators with older aircraft. It's a story of dynamic, successful evolution, not just, a static accumulation of problems.
that's a compelling case built on market faith. I'll grant you that. But commercial confidence doesn't prevent, and it certainly doesn't immediately repair, faulty equipment that's already in service. The fact that these specific technical faults are emerging simultaneously across the fleet, that indicates potential operational stress that needs immediate, rigorous oversight, regardless of future order books. We really need to focus on two very specific, high-profile pieces of evidence here. They highlight real-world vulnerabilities, and they span both generations of this platform.
Okay.
First, there's the recent maintenance bulletin. It's about a recurring fault with a specific fuel flow regulator valve on the A320 CEO variant. Now, this is crucial. The bulletin specifically targets aircraft running engines equipped with the Airbus Sharklet wingtip option. Now, for listeners, the Sharklet is that advanced wingtip device, right? Designed to significantly improve fuel efficiency, basically pushing older CO models towards the performance envelope of the newer neoplanes.
Right, efficiency gains.
Exactly. But the problem seems to arise because this specific configuration, you've got a high-cycle older airframe being pushed for maximum efficiency. It seems to correlate with this recurring fault in the regulator valve. And airlines aren't waiting around. They're taking a highly precautionary approach. They're scheduling unscheduled checks now ahead of the critical winter operations period. That's disruptive, it's costly, and it puts immediate pressure on maintenance schedules globally. Second, we just can't ignore the incident involving that Lufthansa-operated A321neo. It had to be diverted. Why? Because the crew received a cockpit pressurization warning mid-flight. Okay, the aircraft landed safely, thankfully. But this wasn't some minor hydraulic leak we're talking about. Pressurization is a core flight safety system. This suggests vulnerabilities might be present even in the newest neo models, despite engines and other systems being reported as normal. Look, when your fleet exceeds 16,000 units, the sheer scale magnifies the risk associated with any recurring fault. It means thousands of inspection hours, potentially hundreds of aircraft affected.
Well, I'm still not convinced by that line of reasoning because I think it conflates routine, frankly, expected maintenance alerts common to any massive aging fleet with fundamental design flaws in the platform's future. Let's really look at the interpretation of growth versus technical risk. The technical issues you cite, okay, a fuel flow regulator valve fault in an older CO variant and a single isolated pressurization warning in a NEO, these are generally manageable events in a fleet this size. They don't, not in any quantifiable way, undermine the proven economics and the low operational costs that are highlighted by that massive Wizz Air order.
But isolated seems like a stretch when you have issues across generations.
Let me finish. That huge investment is overwhelmingly focused on the A320neo family. The Neo is where the future capital is flowing because it promises efficiency and, importantly, lower maintenance burdens moving forward. We have to draw a clear line, I think. Managing an older legacy variant with specific retrofits, that's one thing. Undermining the structural confidence in the new generation, that's quite another. Airbus has successfully kept those separate in the market's view, which is precisely why the orders keep pouring in.
But the technical problems are explicitly not isolated to one generation. That's the operational reality that market optimism just tends to ignore. You have recurring fuel regulator valve reports on the CO needing urgent inspection on a specific high-performance configuration, mind you. And you have a cockpit pressurization warning on a late-model A321neo that forced a mid-flight diversion.
Okay, but the diversion landed safely, the system worked.
The very fact that the A320 platform is so successful, because it's so pervasive, hitting over 16,000 aircraft globally, that's the very reason why a supposedly routine fault becomes a major logistical headache, maybe even a crisis. Think about the coordination needed when a maintenance bulletin demands unscheduled inspections of, say, a fuel flow regulator valve across maybe 2,000 aircraft scattered across 50 countries. This logistical undertaking directly impacts operational tempo, capacity. It creates massive non-recurring operational costs, regardless of accelerated production targets starting 3 years down the line. And sorry, a forced mid-flight diversion on a new A321neo? That isn't just routine. That suggests a potential systemic risk that maybe hasn't been fully engineered out of the latest variant. It demands immediate investigation, surely.
That's an interesting point about the logistical strain, and actually it brings us quite neatly to the question of modernization. Does the platform's evolution actually mitigate this risk you're highlighting? Let's address the significance of platform evolution. My argument is that this active management, this investment in modernization, does mitigate the perceived risks. Look at the commitment to sustainability upgrades, things like new, more efficient seating integrations, new engine retrofit options for older models. Couple that with the success of the A320neo freighter conversion, it all demonstrates profound active management of the platform's longevity. This platform isn't just a static fleet, sort of accumulating issues until retirement.
It's really a dynamic, evolving ecosystem designed for generational extension. The willingness to convert the Neo into a freighter, for instance, shows real confidence that the base airframe structure is sound enough to handle entirely different, heavier mission cycles for decades more. This continuous renewal process, that's Airbus's way of ensuring the platform stays state-of-the-art and operationally resilient.
Okay, well, conversion and retrofits definitely extend lifespan. They fundamentally introduce new layers of complexity. And that's my core concern about the A320's current trajectory. Every structural modification, every new mission set like freight, every new engine integration, it adds a potential point of failure that then has to be monitored across a fleet that is already just immense. For example, pushing older CO airframes with specific wing mods like the Sharklet to perform high cycle operations, that might lead to unforeseen stress points, like maybe this recurring issue with the fuel flow regulator valve we discussed.
Possibly, but that's managed through bulletins.
And furthermore, the A320neo cargo mission, okay, commercially successful, fine, but it requires structural reinforcement, new operational protocols, all layered onto a system base that is currently experiencing things like pressurization warnings in other new variants. Complexity, I think, is increasing faster than certainty. The cost, the sheer effort of maintaining high operational integrity on a massive, diverse, and constantly modified fleet, that's a ticking clock that accelerated production simply ignores.
But the ability to manage that complexity successfully is exactly why commercial confidence remains so strong. Which leads us right to defining confidence versus vigilance. For me, commercial confidence, evidenced by that robust order book, the definitive market signal from a high-utilization carrier like Wizz Air that remains the objective indicator of the platform's future health. Market valuation basically confirms the engineer's ability to manage the technical reality. Accelerated production, starting in 2027, it's just a necessary response to this market demand. It reinforces the platform's utter dominance in the single-aisle sphere.
I'm sorry, I just don't buy that commercial confidence dictates operational reality day to day. Let me tell you why. Operational necessity dictates the immediate agenda. The need for immediate inspection of that fuel flow regulator valve on the CO variant, and the urgent investigation into the root cause of the A321neo pressurization warning. That shows technical reality is setting the operational agenda right now, ahead of commercial timelines.
But airlines plan for unscheduled maintenance.
They're being forced to schedule unscheduled checks now. That impacts immediate profitability, readiness. It means flight cancellations potentially, delays, massive logistical headaches. This level of technical vigilance is far more crucial, I argue, than accelerated production targets 3 years out. Because without guaranteed safety and availability in the short term, those massive future orders, they could eventually erode no matter how confident Wizz Air feels about 2028.
But vigilance is a constant for any commercial aircraft fleet. The fact that Airbus is managing these issues through specific, targeted bulletins while maintaining the highest delivery rates in the industry and simultaneously securing massive future orders, that proves these technical issues are being handled effectively, efficiently. They're doing it without jeopardizing the long-term strategic vision for the A320 family. They are managing complexity, they are not succumbing to it.
They are being managed, yes, but they are also perhaps symptomatic of the inherent strain. The margin for error just shrinks with every new airframe delivered, especially when fundamental flight-critical systems like pressurization show unexpected vulnerabilities in the newest, most technologically advanced variants. This isn't just a part wearing out slightly faster than expected. This is potentially a core system faltering under flight load. That, to me, requires an immediate shift in focus from just volume to absolute vigilance.
Okay, so to summarize my position, the sheer scale of the A320 family's commercial success, profoundly marked by that 16,000 delivery milestone and the massive future orders, it proves its sustained and frankly indispensable role as the market backbone. Technical issues are simply, manageable facets of a massive, evolving platform. They're handled efficiently through robust regulatory and manufacturing controls, not some kind of existential threat to its viability. The sustained investment in modernization and new mission sets like cargo conversion, it definitively validates this future. This is fundamentally a question, I think, of macroeconomics and proven fleet management outweighing microengineering glitches.
And my summary remains focused squarely on the immediate operational reality, the appearance of specific, recurring faults and incidents, that fuel flow regulator valve needing inspection on the high-performance CO configuration, and the A321neo pressurization warning appearing across both generations. It requires a sober acknowledgement of the inherent, maybe mounting, risks of a fleet this size. Maintaining rigorous, prioritized oversight is absolutely essential to ensure that this growing complexity doesn't overwhelm the operational integrity that actually made the platform so successful commercially in the first place.
So, we clearly see the future health of the A320 family through two quite different lenses: commercial momentum and that macroeconomic faith versus the micro-operational reality and the necessary risk assessment that comes with it.
Exactly. And both lenses offer vital, distinct perspectives. I think assessing the overall health of the A320 family platform requires recognizing both the, yes, undeniable impressive commercial momentum and the critical immediate need for constant technical diligence. There's clearly much more to explore in that interaction between commercial ambition and the hard physics as this extraordinary platform continues its unparalleled growth.